legends. The podcast about urban legends. Meet your host, that's right, Neil Chris Hutler.
Hello and welcome to Urban Legends episode. Hello, welcome to Urban Legends. I am, I should say it's a podcast about urban legends. It's an internet and, let's just be honest, a media entertainment sensation, not since Grand Theft Auto 5. I am Chris Flynn, and I would like to address some rumours that have been going around on Twitter regarding my use of PEDs or PEDs, podcasting enhancing drugs. I can say to the sponsors, none of this is true. I have been using a new brand of cough syrup to get me to sleep at night, shut out all the screaming in my head. So it could be something to do with that. But, you know, I'm willing to take any tests that are necessary. And with me, as always, is the ghostwriter behind the hilarious TV show, Young Sheldon. It is Mr.
Neil Herbert.
Hi, Neil. How's your week been?
I'm stuffed to the gills with PEDs.
Oh,
We're knocking out those zingers for Young Sheldon. You have to do that without a
podding enhancing drug.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the main proof will be my performance on this podcast today, which will clearly
put to bed any
show
doubts that clearly I'm not enhanced.
I'm not enhanced. If anything, been taking downwards. So, Neil, how did you get the Young Sheldon gig?
Well, you know, obviously, I was a massive fan of the Big Bang Project, I believe.
That's it. It's the Big Bang Project, yeah.
Yeah, huge fan of that. Definitely had seen an episode of it. So...
Did you relate to the character of Sheldon a lot, being a scientist?
Obviously, related mostly to him. You know, he's like unlikable, smug, irritating character, so... You know, constantly thinking he's in the right.
You've got all that in spades.
Got all that down, you know. So, just
I did wonder
really
if it was based on you.
Badgering Chuck Lorre for years until we sort of gave in and said, "Oh, tell you what, we could make a little Sheldon version." I think he was just taking the piss, but CBS greenlit it, so here we are.
So it's kind of went down the Muppet Babies route, really.
Is it on CBS? I don't know. Yeah. But with less Star Wars footage because, you know, we won't want to worry about having to sell the rights in years to come.
Oh, yeah, of course.
You can't see Muppet Babies anymore because, you know, can't clear the rights.
Is that why?
I believe it. That's what I've heard, yeah.
Well, that's why the Muppet Babies isn't on anymore.
Mm-hmm. They used to use a lot of clips from films and stuff, didn't they? Or references to...
Well, they used references.
Different properties, yeah.
Oh, what? And they were doing it illegally, like...
I have heard...
Like when a hip-hop artist uses a sample that they haven't cleared, and then James Brown takes all their money.
I suspect this was back, what was that, 80s Muppet Babies? So I suspect that whatever rights agreements that they signed were only, have long since lapsed and would be far too complicated to try and reset up for what's probably a niche property at best.
Well, I would say to the creators of Muppet Babies that my speciality is actually entertainment contractual law, and I'm willing to work pro bono to get it back on the air. That's my promise.
It'd be one of these ones where I just have a long gestating, like third series or whatever. I don't know how many series.
Yeah, it'd be great. Yeah,
like Twin Peaks, something comes back after 30 years.
Yeah. So
I enjoyed it.
Can you give us any insights as to what Young Sheldon's going to be up to over the next couple of 10 series?
Well, see, we've been having a really
difficult time with the child actor.
Well, I mean, partly as he's got sort of grown up, he's getting more and more annoying. But no, it's a difference of opinions on where I want to take the character. So I strongly believe at the end of the 23rd series, Young Sheldon should die horrifically. And the notes I've been getting from the studio are that, firstly,
doesn't fit in with the
that
law.
wouldn't go down well with the core audience, and secondly, would be like completely contradicting the original show that it came from. Which I think is a narrow view.
Unless they did a thing where all of the shows from there were in like a dog's dream or something.
Or the little kid from St. Elsewhere.
Yeah, exactly. Do that kind of thing.
Just looking in this snow globe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, you could do that, but so we're working through those differences. So, I can't tell you where that's going to go.
You'll probably land on he goes to university or something.
I mean, that probably will be the compromise position, yeah. Yeah. And he's an insufferable prick with his friends.
Exciting times ahead. Is he going to get up to many japes? Or
there'll be jape shenanigans.
Yeah,
harsh words will be said.
Yeah. Will he talk down to his mother, maybe?
Yeah, constantly.
Lovely stuff.
And everyone else.
And
wear a little bow tie.
My little bow tie. Is that why you're wearing your bow tie now?
My multicoloured bow tie. My multicoloured tartan bow tie.
And your rainbow braces like Walk from Orc.
Yeah. A wacky fella, look.
Your Alf T-shirt. And one of those caps.
And a MAGA cap.
A cap. A MAGA cap.
It's wacky. It's just so confusing.
You're cleaning
it's a MAGA cap with a peace sign on it.
And a little propeller on top.
You don't know you don't know who I am.
There's an anarchist symbol on the back.
Yeah.
Like shaved into the back of your head.
Yeah. The A has been turned into in America to an anarchist sign.
Well, Neil, you certainly are. You're laying across many streams of culture all at once, and maybe that's what Chuck Lorre saw in you. Maybe. Yeah. So, Neil, I believe that this week you are going to be driving the episodes with Carefree Abandon, and I believe that it is what I would.
We're probably going to go into a lake. It's going to be like Chappaquiddick Island with,
I hope so.
And I won't be checking to see if you're all right. I'll be sweating for my own safety.
Oh, of course you will. Yeah.
Like tea.
You'll suck suck whatever air I have left in my lungs.
Yeah, a bit more air for me, and then straight out.
So this is what I would call a proper campfire story, urban legend thing. Would you? I mean, I don't.
No, absolutely.
I don't know it. I only know the title.
So this is much more one of your traditional kind of like urban legends. We've been doing quite a lot that there's a bit of evidence for and stuff like that. This is a bit more of a campfire tale, but it's got a bit of history, and there's some elements of actually there is a very historical documented thing where one bit where it might have come from, but no, this is very much one of your traditional
Franklin's almanac.
Yeah. Oh, you know what he's like with his almanacs. Trustworthy they are. I've covered that. The Jersey Devil.
Shit.
Good Lord. A bit more of a traditional sort of campfire ghost story. But, that's the heart of a lot of urban legends as well. So, we want to...
We cover it all.
Yep, absolutely. Never fear. Right, so this is... and hey, what a great title for an urban myth. The Licked Hand. Sometimes known as the Doggy Lick.
Don't get many of them to the pound.
So depending on where you read, and Wiki will say there's been versions going back to the 80s, but actually Snopes found something going back to the 19th century. So we'll get into that later. And it's also supposedly based on a sort of English ghost story, which I didn't really think the two were very related, but we'll get into that later on and see what you think. So firstly, let's just sort of go through the story. And this, as with a lot of these things, it gets embellished in the telling. So I'm going to kind of like just pick the ones that are, one of the versions, and then we can have a think about what some of the kind of like alternatives might look like. So picture the scene. It's probably a dark and stormy night, Chris. I don't know, but I imagine it would have been.
Well, it's quite stormy here today, so that's not
exactly. Yeah, it's raining quite a bit and windy last night, so dark nights drawing early on, Feb in the year. Okay, so and imagine a young girl walking home for the first time with only a dog for company.
Okay.
She listens to the news and she hears the story of a killer on the loose in her neighbourhood. Oh, so she's terrified. So she locks all the doors and the windows. Make sure everything's sensible. Make sure everything's nice and locked up.
Is she at home on her own now?
Yeah, she's got home now. She's walking through. She's got home. She's listened to a story on the radio about some escaped psychopath, killer on the loose.
Mm-hmm.
But make sure all the doors and windows are locked. Lovely. Time for bed. And, just to make her feel a little bit safer, she's going to take the dog into the room with her. You let it sleep on the bed. I imagine it was kind of like, probably pestering a little bit, wanting to hang around with her. But then she's like, actually, do you know what? I'd feel comforted by his presence.
Yeah.
It sort of spooked me a little bit hearing about that killer on the radio.
Yeah. I can't imagine a situation where I wouldn't allow my pets into my bedroom anyway, to be honest.
No, fair enough.
Some people lock them out, don't they?
You might have difficulty sleeping. You might be a very light sleeper. So
maybe, or you could be someone who has a sex life, and you don't want animals jumping on you.
Yeah, that's also a possibility.
Yes, that's something I've heard of.
Anywho, look, she's by herself just with a dog. So he's sleeping under the bed, and then she wakes up in the night and hears a dripping sound coming from the bathroom.
Mm.
And do you know what, Chris? She locked all the doors and windows. Oh, she only forgot to lock the basement window, didn't she?
That's the most dangerous, the most spooky of all windows.
Oh, she didn't take the sign that said killers. Here's an easy way to get into the basement. You don't want to leave that one long around, especially when there's a killer on the loose.
Oh, for fuck's sake. The neon sign.
Oh, yeah, the neon sign saying, entrance in here if you want to get access.
Young girl on own.
Young lady on own. Only harmless dog to protect. So nightmare,
Penile dog.
She tried to do the right thing, but she's forgotten about that basement window.
Well,
got to check all the windows
and the thing is, Neil, my sympathy has now gone.
Oh, really? So you're just like, whatever happens, happens?
Yeah.
You didn't take the basic steps.
Yeah, exactly. You're basically asking for it. Some people have claimed that I'm victim blaming.
Yeah, I mean, accurately.
Yeah. Well, all right.
But you've made your mind up. I don't think, however obnoxious and incorrect your view is, you're going to stick to it.
Well, yeah, I think that's it. I've got to put. This is the hill I'm going to die on.
Yeah. The gentleman's not for turning.
No such thing as society. I think that the blame has to be. I think the blame is equal between the psychopath.
If you're a wandering lunatic and you see a basement window open, you're gonna, lunatic in a lunatic.
Yeah, but the lunatic's, he's mentally ill. He can't be held accountable. He sees a neon sign pointing to a basement
full moon,
window,
presumably,
and it's raining. Probably.
Yeah. He wants to. First, he just wants to get.
He's probably
out
scared.
of the cold.
He's probably more scared, like spiders. He's more scared of you than you are of him.
Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens and see how this is this is borne out.
Well, I think it will be.
So let's see how much choice has it. So she wakes up in the night and she's hearing a dripping sound coming from the bathroom. Kind of gets up, checks the taps. No, nothing. Kind of half asleep. Goes back to bed and she's getting a little bit scared. And then she's hearing sort of more dripping, but she doesn't want to get out this time because she's getting a bit scared. And she just kind of puts her hand down towards the bottom of the bed. And she gets a reassuring lick on her hand from the dog. And that makes her feel a bit better. So she just kind of just sort of tucks in and just, she'll get back up in the morning and figure out if it's a leaking pipe or whatever it is.
Mm.
So the next morning...
I'll be honest with you, I've seen where this is going for quite a while.
Next morning, she gets up, it's light again. She's feeling a bit better. So, she's going into the bathroom for a drink of water. And hanging over the toilet, hanging off from the shower curtain, it's the head of her mother.
Oh, right. I didn't see that coming.
That's not. No. That's because I made that up. So, it's a box with Gwyneth Paltrow's head in. That's the ending of 7. No. No, she's the dog has only been strung up by the shower cable. Yep, depending on the version, he's been the dripping was the dripping of his blood.
Yeah,
he's been like horrifically mutilated by some psychopath, and she screams and oh my god, what's going on here? Turns around, written in blood on the wall behind her. In the dog's blood are the words, "Humans can lick too."
I've heard that before. I've heard this.
Have you really?
Yeah.
So there's various other versions where it could be like a short-sighted old woman rather than a young girl, and apparently the fate of the dog varies. Although he always seems to die, and sometimes it's written in the mirror. Yeah. Rather than
Or she sees it in the mirror. Yeah, that's what I've heard. She saw it in the mirror. Humans can lick too. Yeah, I've heard this. After I can't remember where I was working, but we all went to the pub after work and then got pissed, and then people were telling ghost stories, and this was one of them.
I mean, I'll tell you what. What's that killer's end game? That was my first thought on reading this.
Kill the dog, lick the girl. Carry on your way.
So I see a basement window open. I think I'll get in there, maybe get out of the rain, as you say. I'll crawl under this lady's bed, lick the proffered hand, and then I'll go and mutilate her dog.
Well, he mutilated the dog before the hand, didn't he? Because the dripping was before.
I'm not. Yeah, no, I think you're probably right there. Actually, yeah.
Yeah, because she heard the dripping again, and then put her hand down, and then got licked.
Do you reckon he didn't want to go straight back out the basement side because he wanted to have a bit of kit, but they didn't want to bother her either. So he's just like, I'll just pretend I'm the dog. You wouldn't tell the difference between a human tongue and a dog tongue. I mean, they're very similar.
Oh, depends on the human, depends on the dog. But
I don't know. I think I'd probably be able to tell the difference. I'm not sure.
Well, there's only one way to find out now.
Yeah.
We'll do a blind test.
We'll do a double blind test. One of us will sleep above a serial killer. One of us will sleep above a dog.
Well, we'll film it.
We'll see how many times we get it right, and whether either of us die and end up with a mutilated dog.
Dear Criminal Justice Service, I am in need for a YouTube video. I am in need.
Can you please put Peter Sutcliffe on release?
I need three. I will need 3 killers for 1 hour to test if their tongues are distinguishable of that of a collie, a Labrador, and an Alsatian. As a taxpayer, I expect that this will be fine. Please tell me where to return them afterwards. Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? I don't really know what is. Well, he's touched in a nut, isn't he? He doesn't really know. He doesn't really have an end game.
The thing is, it's the classic twist came before the story ending. I feel.
Do you?
Yeah, because it's I don't know. Unless he's just into mutilating dogs.
Maybe that's it. Maybe it was a police dog that caught him.
Could be.
Or maybe it's another one of the talking dogs that tells people to do stuff, and he decided to take it out. Maybe he's like the Punisher or something. Vigilante.
He just punishes it's just animals.
Animals that tell serial killers to do stuff.
Oh, do you think it was a sort of Son of Sam situation?
Yeah, it could be. Well,
actually, the real twist here is that the young lady would have been a serial killer.
Exactly.
But this is like a sort of Son of Sam / Dexter situation where he goes in and kills any evil animals that might convince people to become serial killers.
Well, I think so. Is it only dogs that do that?
Seems plausible.
It seems more than plausible.
That particular individual was responding to a talking dog, as I recall.
Was Charles Manson
I don't know how common.
Responding to a porcupine?
Yep, or a parrot or something.
What's that, Mr. Sparky?
Minor bird.
Helter-skelter. That could be the case. It could be that this is all muddled up and he's actually a hero.
Yeah, he was just preventing somebody from becoming.
I mean,
Probably bury the dog out back and don't boast about it right in the dog's blood would be my advice if you want to come across as more friendly. But, each to their own.
Well, it might stop her getting another dog that could also turn out to be evil. It could be the house that was on an Indian burial ground.
I think it's Amityville again, so the house is haunted. So,
and it has to project through dogs.
It's like, like
a telephone exchange.
The chicken and the fox trying to get them across on the lake, isn't it? It's like, right, I've got the haunted house, I've got the susceptible human. Oh, who do I leave together again? Because if I put the dog in the haunted house, then that's going to get possessed and then it's going to start telling it to kill people. But then if
you take the house across first.
Yeah.
And then you take...
Leave her with the dog.
Then you take the dog across, then you take the house back.
Yeah.
Then you take the girl, and then you take it.
And then you destroy the house.
And you
get an exorcist.
Slaughter the dog, scare the girl.
Right, lick everyone's hands.
Lick everyone's hands as a thank you to show that you're bonded. Yeah, I mean, it's such a, I never like stories. I dislike stories where an animal gets killed more than a human, to be honest.
I'm not a fan of either, but I guess it's kind of like, it's obviously, with the dog and everything, that's really terrible. But you kind of think, I don't know, there probably are versions where everyone gets killed or something like that. No,
not with this story. It's always the humans can lick too thing. It was meant to give you the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah. And I suppose it's the whole thing that the killer's gotten away with it, isn't it? But he's, I don't know. I mean, I'm glad that.
I think you'll find that my victim blaming, as you called it earlier, was completely correct because she left it open. She didn't get harmed, and the dog got killed, and the bloke
got killed.
Yeah, so I would say that she was to blame.
Well, dog killer on the loose, it's only a matter of time, isn't it?
Exactly.
She's got to take it out for walks, Chris. Can't keep it kept in. And this is a kind of cunning dog killer who could hide under beds and impersonate dog licks. So
Well, it was under the bed, wasn't it?
Sooner or later.
Or was it under the bed?
No, he was hiding under the bed. We're led to believe.
Okay, it was just weird because it was a divan.
I don't think he was. What do you think he was curled up in bed beside her? It's just really short-sighted. Oh, let's start patting this serial killer and starts licking her hands. Oh, you must be a dog.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, woof, woof.
Woof, and woof.
I mean, what's interesting as well, so I was looking at the background to this.
Yeah.
So, because apparently this is something that's been a real kind of like campfire tale, and it's gone around all over the show. So Wiki's got it down as being in the 80s, but then they also put... So, I mean, there's a couple of ones I want to talk about here, actually, a couple of forerunners. So the first one, there's this story from 1919 by M.R. James called The Diary of Mr. Pointer. Ooh. It's a very kind of short story. And I'm not sure... So it's sort of got... It goes in a different direction, shall we say. So this is about a guy. He buys this series, this diary of this person. He gets it for like a tenner. Just like a series of leather-bound notebooks or something.
Which was a lot of money back in them days.
It's a lot of money back in those days.
Before we changed, there's pre-decimalisation. So.
I couldn't figure out how to do it with pre-decimal. But, yeah. Don't know how many shillings and pence. But, yeah, so he gets these in, and then his aunt tells him off because, wasting all that money. We haven't even got the chintz furniture in yet. What are you playing at? But she sees a sample inside the book. And she's like, that'll make some nice curtains. So he gets them made up. But the people who are making the curtains for him say, the artist who made it, he didn't like doing this because, there's almost something devilish about these curtains, something haunted about their pattern. And he puts them up in the living room, and he's sitting there one night. He sort of started absentmindedly stroking his dog when he realises that some like homunculus is rising out the floor that's made out of human hair, not dog hair. It chases him out of the room, which he finally manages to escape. Has a look at the diary, there's a couple of pages stuck together, and glues them, and then reads the terrifying tale of Mr. Pointer. It's like a posh lad who used to get debauched around university.
Just to tell you quickly, £10 in 1905 money is the equivalent of just under £1,300 today, 1,300 quid. So...
Yeah, I was going to say £1,000 to spend on someone's diaries. mind you. He clearly liked the look of them books, didn't he?
Clearly liked the homunculus.
Anyway, look, you've interrupted my thrilling telling of this ghostly
tale. No, I was enjoying it. I just thought I'd let you know. But
yeah, no, that's good.
It wasn't an insubstantial sum that he spent on.
No, it's
some bloke you'd never heard of diaries. So he's obviously got more money than sense.
It's not the only incongruent thing about this story. So yeah, especially his aunt who looks at a pattern of the book and goes, "Oh, these make nice curtains." And then some weird curtain maker who's like, "Oh, 'tis the devil's pattern, sir." Yeah, it's like making this. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of these things. Anyway, so he gets chased out by the hairman. Apparently,
yeah.
I don't know whether he ever goes back, but he reads the diary. Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much, you would imagine, or just if Boris Johnson's thatch became really feral, which I expect is going to happen at some point. So yeah, apparently it was all down to this diary. This guy, he was some debauched university student. He's a bit of an atheist, a bit of a high liver, liked to drink, and he had a mane of hair that he was very proud of.
Yeah.
And the spooky thing is, Chris, they found him dead one night. Came to a sad end, as you expect someone like that would do. Drowned in a lake. All of his hair shorn off.
Ooh.
So they went to bury him, and unfortunately, yeah,
hazing.
Just some lads having fun.
Just university.
Sometimes it'll turn into a drowning stroke.
Cutting
off all your hair.
Shoring
of your hair. Yeah, and then they go to bury him, and the old coffin lid falls open, and it's just filled with hair, the coffin. Spooky tale, isn't it? I mean, so which one's got the shittier twist? Did that chill your bones?
I prefer the hair one.
Yeah. What do these?
Is that the twist?
Yeah, pretty much. So I read through this whole short story. I'm not sure. I'm glad I did. The twist is it's something vaguely spooky about hair. His hair was evil. I don't really know. It doesn't explain. Rightly, I suspect it doesn't explain it. But yeah, he's
that's like a ghost story that like a 5-year-old would make up.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. I skim read it, so I might have missed some nuance. But no, that's pretty much it. Yeah, so the scene where he's sort of just stroking some hair that's kind of rising up from the carpet.
Oh, okay.
That was the hairy homunculus just coming to attack him, presumably.
Yeah, I don't know if they're directly. I don't know if there's a direct correlation.
It doesn't sound particularly linked, does it?
Well, there's thinking you're stroking your dog, but it's something else.
Yeah. There's a particular thing, and maybe somebody read that story because it's going to stick with you. Let's be honest, for better or worse, because it's the most insane thing I've ever heard. And what is that at the end? More things on heaven and earth have jumped in your philosophy. Hair homunculi.
That's your catchphrase on this podcast.
What, hair homunculi? Yeah.
No, more things on heaven and earth.
More things on heaven and earth dreamt of. Yeah, it does quote that. It doesn't actually fully quote it. It says, let's have a look. Mr. Cattle's comment upon what he heard of the story took the form of a quotation from Shakespeare. You may guess it without difficulty. It began with the words, "There are more things." That's the ending.
More things to do in Skegness than you think.
Yeah. There truly are. Donkey riding, just tanning yourself on the beach, getting an ice cream.
Butlins.
Those 2-penny machines where you drop it down and then you might win more 2p's.
Get on the coins.
I was trying to get rid of all this change. Load more fucking come back.
Go to Wetherspoons, get nice and drunk, then go to a show.
Beautiful. And now I'm just going to have a quick look for it because there was an even more obscure one on Snopes. Which just bear with me a second. And this one is kind of quite interesting because it does look like a real precursor, but you kind of wonder who could possibly have read it.
Well, only takes one person to then.
So they talk about, and they mix it up as well with a similar one where there could be somebody coming back studying late, and she didn't. Her flatmate gets killed, and then she sees a note saying, "Aren't you glad you didn't turn on the light?"
Oh yeah, I've heard of that one.
But anyway, here's the so they're saying very similar, just kind of basically somebody had a real brush with a serial killer who vanished into thin air, sort of thing. the Licked Amity shows up in 11th of August, 1871 diary entry penned in England by one Dearman Birchall.
Mm.
Croquet party. Croquet party. One of the guests told of a clergyman who was aroused in the middle of the night by his wife, said, "John dear, I'm sure there is a robber under the bed. I hear him moving. Do get up and see." John replied, "Oh, it's only the Newfoundland dog. I just put my hand out and he licked it, darling." Next morning, all the jewellery and many other effects had disappeared.
And was the Newfoundland fine?
So this
doesn't mention.
No, this is a real life entry by somebody in England who they were at a party and apparently somebody had said that they'd been robbed. He couldn't be bothered getting out of bed, and then he's like, "Oh, it's all right. It's not." Oh yeah, I mean, she was sure that there was a robber under the bed. What was he looking for down there? Maybe they stashed some other effects.
Well, I mean, it could be that he heard them moving and quickly got under the bed. He heard them rousing.
That's true. Well, although you could hear him moving around.
There would have been those big iron beds, wouldn't it, back in those days, which had loads of space underneath for your bedpan, your copy of the Bible, your chewing tobacco, that kind of stuff. Bottle of gin.
Your blunderbuss.
Your scythe. Yeah, no, good storage back in those days.
Yeah, so,
made a lot of noise so you couldn't have sex because you weren't meant to.
That's a nightmare, man. You're just trying to get a night's sleep and there's just serial killers and dogs just crawling all under the bed. It's ridiculous. I can't get a fucking wink of sleep. If it's not a dog, it's a serial killer licking your hand.
Yeah.
Absolute nightmare. So anyway, I thought that was quite interesting.
Yeah,
that's a very... I mean, I don't know how many people would have read this diary entry, but that's... yeah.
Well, if they found it, then it must be somewhere. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If Snopes found it, I mean, I doubt they've gone through everyone's diary in England. Do you know what I mean?
No,
if they went through
mine.
I did a diary for a bit when I was about 16, and it's all quite. I've never sort of reread it. It was all kind of unrequited love stuff.
Oh right, fair enough. No, I mean I don't.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so he was a Conservative Party politician and a British soldier apparently. Died in 1941. Yeah, so there you go. So presumably they must have published his diaries at some point. I don't know whether they got out the microfiche or whether it's on the internet, but anyway, that's about all I'm going to look up from there. But
yeah, I mean,
so I thought that was quite interesting that it had gone back that far.
But it could have been the Newfoundland that licked his hands.
Oh no, absolutely, yeah. I mean, let's be honest, he just couldn't bother getting out of bed, could he? No. He's probably rich enough, yeah.
Well, he was a clergyman, wasn't he? I think so.
A soldier. Oh no, I don't. Yeah, it was a
clergyman who told the story.
He told the story, yeah. He put himself in a great. But no, I thought it was quite interesting just to, and it's apparently one that's kind of gone around quite a few different other bits and tales. So it's been in a film. It was in it's another one. Supernatural seems to do a lot of these things.
I started watching that,
but it was any good.
It's okay.
Yeah,
I mean, I've watched probably first half of the first series, but there's loads of series. It's one of those which I don't mind having on sort of in the background while I'm doing other stuff. It doesn't take a great deal of concentration.
No, don't get me wrong. I'm sure it's I'm sure it's entertaining enough in its own right. It just doesn't. I don't know. There's just so much that you can watch, isn't there? Just the concept doesn't grab.
The thing is, sometimes I find that I just want to have some chewing gum for, have something on. You've got, because I live on my own, have something on, you've got a bit of noise and stuff, and you can watch it while you're doing some other stuff, rather than something you have to sit down and concentrate on.
Oh, no, absolutely. I do a bit of that sometimes. It's, no.
Never say never. Find away the demons of loneliness. That kind of
thing. So you also got the... it's been an Urban Legends movie. Apparently there's an Urban Legends Bloody Mary version.
Right.
And also partially told on a camping trip, an episode of Made in Chelsea to come near to home.
Terrible.
There you have it. So, it's It's well known around the world, supposedly.
Shall we do Bloody Mary for our season finale? That's quite a big one.
Yeah, we may as well.
Yeah, I'm not ready to.
It's
not ready.
Mostly Candyman, isn't it?
Yeah, basically. I'm not ready to.
As long as we can refer to the Candyman quite a lot,
hilarious film.
Then that's fine. It's not hilarious, but it's a good film.
I thought it was funny when I saw it.
I know you didn't care for it. Don't disrespect Tony Todd.
I disrespect who I fucking like. If he's got a problem with it, he knows where I am.
Get more than your hand licked.
Well, I hope. Promises. I'm not ready to start doing stuff like Bigfoot and stuff yet. We're too early in the pod.
I worry as well there won't be that much to say. Although Bigfoot, maybe I'd quite like to get around to those chaps who had it hidden in their freezer.
Bigfoot and Yeti are being dealt with separately.
Oh, okay.
Because they're different things. Yeah.
Well, they're different geographically, and
deal with them separately. Of course, we could always look at stuff like the stump squatches, whatever the fuck they are.
Well, that's the thing, isn't
There's
it?
loads of different
you get
squatches.
the real minor variations.
They've got their own Squatch universe now, like the Marvel universe or the Power universe.
It's very much like, you get the news and, you've got your national news.
Yeah.
You've got with your big people sort of like doing it all over. And then you get your kind of like your local region, your regional variant, like with Fred Dinage.
South Today.
In our area,
I think he's retired now.
So it's like the news. Oh, yeah, it just goes to show the last time I've actually sat down and watched regional news, probably about 30 years ago. But
you get your local news. Yeah. Then you got your local radio stations that just give news from.
It's like national news, but a bit more pointless. And or like reading the Argus rather than like the national press.
Yeah, but again, I do neither.
Get some sort of like
No, I get.
Every once in a while, I get drawn into an article of the Argus, and I do. Have you ever seen? There's a Twitter account that does their headlines.
Oh no, I've not seen it.
They do a lot of ridiculous.
I get all my news from TikTok, as you well know, and Snapchat.
Do you?
Yeah,
TikTok and Parler or whatever that fucking awful thing is called that I signed up to.
I don't know. I know that
Twitter got too woke.
I know Telegram.
According to them. Oh, Telegram's another
That's
one.
That's the one where all the QAnon people went after the Chams got shut down.
Great exodus.
Yeah, that's where all the QAnons and paedophiles went after the Chans got shut down.
Not waded through that. So.
Oh no, me neither. I think the only reason to join it, if you don't follow that kind of stuff, is if you're an investigative journalist, to be honest. But again, you don't have to go too far out of your way to be outraged by things these days, do you? So none of it outrage. I mean, paedophilia outrages me, but the QAnon stuff, it's dangerous and stupid. But I don't really get outraged by anything much anymore. It's like, well, if you want to, I don't know. It's just so out there that you could go down that mental journey to believe that stuff, that it's kind of like.
You used to think a lot of the conspiracy theory stuff was completely harmless, but
it's not so much now, is it? Some of it.
I kind of think it's that's the concern. Anyway, that's just that. That's the topic for another.
Yeah. So, is there any more about this at all, Neil?
I think I've taken you through the highlights, if I can express in that way.
See, the problem. So this is the problem with proper campfire stories / urban legends. There's never much to them.
No, and it's kind of like, I pulled out a couple of extra bits there in terms of, other sources, but there's it's really just kind of like a spooky tale, and there you go. But episodes can't all be too long, so you want a few short ones peppered in here and there. People who getting on with their busy day, maybe just want a little short
release it as a rapido.
Yeah.
So, do you want to go through the scores?
Yes. So, should we go through spookiness to start off with?
You want to go first?
You want me to go first on this one? Okay. It's pretty spooky. That would be a horrific thing to happen to you. And I think this is one of these things why, of these campfire tales, it's, you can tell it's really, it's kind of like almost like your inserting yourself into that picture, which I think is why it ends up with the dog being killed rather than the person, which is, what would sort of normally happen in these kind of things, or sort of as a movie or something. So, what a horrific thing that would be to happen to you, and to realise you'd had this really sort of brush with a killer who tormented you and killed your best friend, your animal and stuff. That would be I think years of therapy at the very least to get over that. I think it's very spooky actually. I'm going to give it an 8.
So, being on your own in a house, although weirdly when it's raining and stormy, I feel more comfortable. I like it. I like hearing the elemental stuff. That always comforts me. But I think you did just add that as for a bit of colour yourself.
I made that up.
So, if you're quite young and you're on your home on your own. I mean, it doesn't say whether it's out in the country or anything, does it? It doesn't really give a description of the landscape.
Well, the more certainty you give for that kind of thing, I think the less the story travels. I think this is one of the things with the things that evolve over time. It has to fit everyone's kind of
got to leave it vague enough that you can personalise it,
apply it to your own
audience.
Life.
I guess it's the sort of you'd feel kind of violated and stuff. I mean, the dog being murdered is horrible. I don't know whether it's because I've heard it before, but I'm finding it difficult to get spooked by it. I'm not sure. So the dog being murdered and stuff's horrible. And so, I
think also somebody being in your home. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I'm finding it difficult to get fully on board with it. I don't know whether that's lack of imagination or what, but I'm giving it a 6 for spookiness. So, believability. Well, it's believable that people can break out of mental institutions, although very, very rare.
Although we don't know, it could have been like a Zodiac killer or something.
Well, I thought there was the radio thing saying that
they said there was a killer on the loose. It didn't say they were an escaped mental patient.
Being loose would mean that it was unloose at some point, wouldn't it?
Well, except for a prison, but
we don't know.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's made
there's
up.
A killer on. Yeah, exactly. So there's a killer. There's a killer kicking around. Basically, is what they're saying. And
those kind of radio announcements that we've all had.
Killer.
Killer in your area.
We interrupt your
lock the
programming
windows, especially the basement one.
Again, getting into the house via the basement. And this is so it's another. I mean, that again with serial killers, they don't tend to do that, do they? They kind of more just grab someone off the street or trick them. So I don't know how often that kind of stuff happens, but I guess that could happen. I mean, it could all happen, but what I'm struggling with is the mindset of the killer, like what their motivation is, particularly.
No, absolutely.
So that makes it as believable. But I mean, there's nothing here that's paranormal or anything. So I'm giving it a 7. No.
Oh, that's probably a bit higher than me actually, because I mean, in terms of did it happen somewhere, I'm not going to think that that's true. I think that's the thing for me is it's what knocks it down a few points is just the whole thing again is a bit in service of the twist at the end. So so really, you've got an evil sort of killer here who just wants to put the shits up somebody, which
rather than kill them, which seems to be his MO.
Yeah. Which you think would be their well, I don't know. I'm not going to pretend to be somebody who understands the mind of the murder or any of the rest of it. But it feels a bit more sort of cartoony and all the rest of it. But that kind of knocks down. So based on all that, what you just said, I'm probably going to go for a 5.
5, okay. So reach, Neil.
Yeah. So. it feels like it's it's quite well known around. Again, unsurprisingly, I hadn't really heard of it, but it's similar to sort of other tales you've heard like this. And just having done a bit of research, it does look like it's known, around a lot of the world. It's a simple enough story that you can tell it. It'll have gone around quite a bit.
To be able to tell it.
No, exactly. And you can, you can get the details wrong and all the rest of it because you just apply it to your own situation. I thought it was really interesting that there was a vaguely similar, obviously not a killer, but, somebody hiding under the bed and robbing, some rich couple. That's obviously the big hook, isn't it? It's the somebody licking your hand, your hand's been licked by some murderer, which is the sort of one of the speaker parts as well. So, anyway, so in terms of reach, I think it's fairly broad on this one. It's been on been featured in a few sort of TV shows and things like that. I'll probably go, but it's not right up there with like the really big ones. So I'll probably go with a 7.
7. So I've actually been told this as a ghost story by someone. So the reach is obviously fairly broad. It's one of the better known of the kind of. It's one of the more famous of the sort of campfire story urban legends, I'd say. It's been on a lot of stuff. So I'm gonna give it a 6. And narrative / premise. So they're all quite simple stories with a bit of a twist at the end, aren't they? So the premise is fairly basic, which is that you forget to lock your house and someone gets in, and then you can take it where you want from there, really. And in this instance, they kill a dog and lick someone's hand. It's okay. It's all right. Like the licking hand thing's pretty new. That was, that's a weird twist, rather than, that's what they all kind of, all the urban legend campfire stories rely on having a twist at the end, don't they? Yeah.
There's some weird hooks. So something happened and then you see it and you like,
So, but there isn't a lot to it. There's plenty you could embellish. You could say, a friend of mine told me that, and then you could describe the area where you live as being where all this happens, so it's adaptable, that's good. I'm going to give it another 6, Neil. How about you?
Yeah, fairly similar. So I think it's a twofold thing for me. It's split somewhere down the middle in that I think as a story, it's obviously gone around all over the place because it's a nice, discreet little story. It's got a twist. It's something you can adapt to your own circumstances. And so I can see that sort of going around as camped up. Just got quite a strong narrative from that perspective, but it's not really a foundation that you can build anything on. So I could imagine like, a very boring movie where we track down the motivations of this killer and it's really pointless. Because it's not. Yeah. Why does he
lick hands?
Yeah, why does he have a hand?
His mother used to only allow him to lick her hands. That was the only thing she let him do when she wasn't beating him. As a sign of affection.
Yeah.
May I lick your hands, mother?
Then if the dog barks, she stopped him from doing it. So he just came up with this hatred of
But she was having
dogs.
sex with the dog.
Oh, good Lord, it's getting worse. So as I say, I don't know, apparently there's more awful legs to this story than I'd realised. I don't think there's much you can build up on it. It's the one thing. So, whilst it's got a nice little nugget.
She used to make the boy dress as a dog. She used to and act like a dog. That's probably the best one, isn't it? So she used to put a collar around him, make him walk around like a dog.
Is that how furries were invented?
Could be. That's the scene he got into.
Possibly.
The furry murders.
Yeah, who knows? So I'm going to give it a 5. I think it's there's not much you can build up on these, like a lot of these stories, but it's a good, solid, memorable hook, even if a bit silly.
Okay. Well, that gives us an overall score of a pretty high 50 out of a possible 80. So that's
classic.
Not too bad, is it? Not too bad at all.
That one works.
So, just check under your beds, people. That's all I can say.
Don't just be reassured by being licked on the hand. Actually see that tongue is connected to a dog and not a serial killer.
That is good advice. And also try some mindfulness to reassure yourself rather than requiring being licked, because that can lead, if you're nervous on a plane or something, that can lead to all kinds of problems. If you have any urban legends you'd like us to look into, I mean, by this point, if you've listened to a few episodes, you'll realise that's a very broad brush that we consider things urban legends. It could be it's just any stories, basically, myths, whatever. Then you can email us at urb, which is URB, .legends.podcast@gmail.com. And we'll look into them. Or if there's an area we're trying to keep this fairly global, reason being because a lot of urban legends come from America, which is cool, but we want to look at some of the ones which maybe you haven't heard of. So we kind of try and look all around. So if there's any kind of countries or anything you'd like us to see if we can find any urban legends from, again, let us know. We'll have a look. And that's it from this week's Urban Legends. And I wish you a very frank and productive week. Goodbye.
Goodbye.